Hey guys, Richard from the Pokéfamily here again. Now, I've just got back from a 2-day journey around the Cleethorpes area. Now, the first day we were engaged in other activities. We had lots of other stuff to do, so we didn't film much Pokemon Go. Today, we spent quite a lot of the day doing Pokemon Go, and we filmed an entire episode for our channel. Unfortunately, the climax of the episode was my 9th Mewtwo raid, involving the entire Pokefamily. Everyone was there. However, there was a technical issue with that part of the episode. So unfortunately, that episode is dead in the water, which is unfortunate. I'm sure that there are YouTubers out there that can sympathise with me and understand that these things sometimes happen. They do. It's unfortunate, but half the raid just wasn't there. I don't understand what happened. I pressed go on the camera, there was battery. Sometimes these things happen when you're using technology. However, thanks to Niantic, thank you Niantic, I've got some pretty nifty stuff to fall back on. Now then, Alolan Pokemon. I've been playing catch up like crazy over the last few days regarding these Pokemon. If you watch my live, I said then it came out of left field. I still feel like it's come out of left field, but I've caught up a little bit and I know enough about it now to kind of deliver a little bit of information to you guys. Now then, the reason why Alolan Pokemon are different to their Kanto region relatives, suppose that's the right word, is environmental. Apparently, the environment in the Alolan region is so different to the Kanto region that when Kanto region Pokemon go there, they have to kind of go through a minor evolution to be able to survive. So that's why they look different. All of them apparently have this trait that it's environmental, apart from Raichu. His form's different, apparently, because he ate too many pancakes. What? Now then, one of the big differences between the Kanto region versions of these Pokemon and the Alolan region version of these Pokemon is typings. Some of them have gained typings and become dual types. Some of them have lost typings and become an entirely different Pokemon as far as type is concerned. Now there are 18 different versions of Kanto Pokemon that have gained an Alolan form, and there's some wild differences. Some of them might become meta relevant, some of them might not. It all depends. I think some of them will become minorly meta relevant early on, and some of them will probably remain meta relevant for some time. Let's go through some of them. Some of them, they'll never be meta relevant, they're just cool things to collect. Let's get started. Rattata and Raticate have now gained dark typing on top of their normal typing. So, if you have an Alolan version of these Pokemon, you're going to get stab on things like bite that Raticate can definitely have. I've got a Raticate with bite. It probably won't make these Pokemon more meta relevant, but they might gain some uses to those trainers who are just up and coming and just learning the few basic steps. I've got a few Pokemon, they're saving their Stardust and they're relying on these lesser Pokemon to get a boost. The next one that I'm going to talk about I find really interesting, and it will probably fall into the minor category as far as meta relevancy is concerned, but Vulpix gains the ice typing and loses the fire typing, so it becomes an ice type Pokemon. Ninetales becomes an ice and fairy type Pokemon. Now you guys out there, you guys know that I love fairy type Pokemon. They're one of my favourites in the game. They don't have much going for them at the moment. They're a bit of an underdog category. I mean, at the moment there is literally Gardevoir that's meta relevant, and then it's a dual type, and it feels like quite a lot of them are dual type, but maybe Ninetales might edge its way in as being somewhat relevant. Fairy types are good for countering dragons. There are a lot of dragons coming. If its CP remains the same, if there's no stat differences, if it's just a straight fire ice swap gaining a fairy type, probably not. But maybe, and that's pretty cool. Another massive change, Marowak loses its ground typing, becomes ghost and fire. That's pretty crazy. That's a completely different type. Who knows? Who knows where that will fall? Ghost typing, probably not. I mean, fire typing, probably not either. It probably won't become relevant if its stats remain the same, but it looks cool, and it's a huge difference. So maybe the ghost typing might gain a little bit of use for taking down gyms. Who knows? Sandshrew and Sandslash both lose their ground types and gain ice and steel. So there'll be more steel types in the game, which in some ways will be useful. I mean, I think a fairy type raid boss is quite a long way off, maybe Gen 6 I think it is, if I remember. I've done a little bit of research about each one of the generations. I think Gen 6 has a fairy type legendary, and steel obviously counts as fairies, so it's doubtful that those things will become super useful, but it's completely different, it's completely separate. Grimer and Muck both gain a dark typing, so they become dark and poison type. Now Muck, I think, will become a little bit relevant because of that. It can have dark type moves in its Kanto region form, so its Alolan form will probably be somewhat useful. Yeah, maybe that one will see some use. Executor, this one is probably the one that will see the most use. It loses its psychic type, stays grass, and gains a dragon typing. Now, even if its CP remains the same, depending on which dragon moves it's given, it could be a, I don't know, less effective version of like Latios, where if it gets given Dragon Claw and Dragon Breath, it could be a less effective version of that. So easy to get, doesn't require rare candies to power up, all that malarkey that makes some Pokemon worthwhile getting just because it's cheaper or easier. Meowth and Persian both lose their normal typing and become dark types, so again, probably won't change their relevancy as far as the meta is concerned, but it's different, guys. It means that those bite attacks are a little bit more useful. I mean, as far as like the current gym system's concerned, a lot of these changes will probably help people take gyms. They probably will. I mean, the stab that these things will gain on a lot of their moves just makes them that tad bit more useful. Diglett and Dugtrio, still ground types, gain a steel typing, so again, probably not going to be super meta relevant, but once those fairy types start hitting, I suppose in Generation 4, whenever that may come, they're giving us Gen 7 now, you're going to have Togekiss. That might end up in gyms. Steel types will help get rid of those. Then you've got Geodude, Graveler and Golem, who lose their ground type but gain electric type. Now this one I think is actually quite interesting. If they give them the right electric type moves, then it really does shoot that Pokemon up there as far as electric types are concerned. Right now, if you want to use an electric type, you're pretty much relying on legendary Pokemon. It's either Zapdos or Raikou. Everything else is a little bit behind that. Jolteon, a little bit behind. Golem, however, that might edge up there. It might edge up there. Well, still won't be as good as Zapdos or Raikou, but again, no rare candy requirement. Still a pretty good Pokemon. Still a decent attack stat. It's out there. And then finally, the Pancake Eater, Raichu, keeps its electric typing, gains the psychic typing. Apparently, pancakes make you psychic. Keep that in mind, guys. So, as far as like entries into the Pokédex and stuff's concerned, I've discovered in my research that Alolan Pokemon from that originally came from the Kanto region keep the same Pokédex entry in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon as their Kanto region counterparts. So it feels like you're going to get an extra entry, like a shiny, in your Pokédex. That's what's going to appear when you get these guys. As far as like Marowak, Raichu and Executor is concerned, there are no Alolan versions of Cubone, Execute or Pikachu. Excuse me, guys. So how they will fall in, who knows? Whether these Pokemon will appear on your world map or whether they will be clicked and found like shinies, so you never know until you've clicked one. Or who knows? What about shinies? I mean, out of this lot, there's only Pikachu and Raichu, I think. Will there be a shiny Alolan Raichu? Well, if you pick up a shiny Pikachu and it evolves into an Alolan version of that, however that might happen, maybe it might be weather related because it's environmental according to the law. So maybe it has to have you have to evolve during an associated weather typing. So to get an Alolan Raichu, you might have to evolve during windy weather. Who knows, guys? Who knows? But I found that this was super interesting for me to research. I was super excited when reading through this stuff. Completely unexpected. The changes in typing makes these Pokemon a lot more interesting for me, meta relevant or not. I can't wait to get my hands on some of these things, even if I just use them for taking a gym here or there. Who knows? Who knows? So that's the end of my video, I think. Keep in mind that these new Alolan Pokemon are probably not going to be super meta relevant, but they're still going to be quite useful. I hope you enjoyed the Mewtwo raid that I've stuck up on this video while I was jabbering on about these Alolan Pokemon. I'll see you in the next video, guys.